And we back, guys, with my second One Piece chapter review. Today we're covering chapter 1038, Law and Kid versus Yonko Big Mom. And it's kind of like Oda really just was hearing exactly what me and other people in the fandom were saying, like, where the hell is Law? Where the hell is Kid? Why haven't we seen literally anything from them? Last time it looked like Big Mom kind of had them on the heel, but we're just kind of wondering what was going on. And Oda finally gave us it, but like only like the last like 5-7 pages, because like this is probably the first time in the arc where Oda did the whole like blank versus blank, and the fight didn't end like all the other ones, Sanji versus Queen, Zoro versus King. When the chapter title was that, they were defeated. So I was kind of expecting in this fight either Kid and Law to be defeated quickly, or Big Mom to get, like, you know, wrecked. But I'll get to that later, but neither happened. The battle is continuing. So from the top, well, you know what, cue in the intro. So chapter 1038 starts out with a cover panel spread showing what kind of happened to the Germa 66 or 66, whatever you want to call it. And we found out that Niji and Yonji were captured, and it was kind of a big surprise because I kind of felt like, well, it was a surprise because I did think that they were unscathed, and I was kind of disappointed in that because Big Mom is a Yonko. She is like, yeah, she has to kind of defend her territory, and to let like everybody come in, wreck her shit, and then just dip without like any consequences. I thought that would have been kind of annoying, so at least now we know that there was a little bit more of a consequence. So the chapter after the cover page starts out with Fuku Rokuju and Raizo at like some shadow possession jutsu kind of thing with like from Shikamaru, and I just want to know how ninjutsu works in One Piece. Like, it's clearly not a devil fruit ability of Raizo's because other people can use it, and unless it is only his, I don't know. I'd have to see what Oda says and how it like progresses throughout the series. But part of me, like, my current hypothesis is thinking that it is a hockey-based ability, kind of similar to other hockey-based abilities that we never really understood before, like the advanced ability to like keep up a barrier and cover up everything and further things. But that's kind of what I'm thinking about with the Raizo's ability. So moving on with the chapter, we're just getting brought back into the whole fire thing, and like Oda clearly wants us to think that it's a big threat to everybody, even though I don't know, like my sirens aren't going off for it. I just feel like it'll get resolved at some point. I don't really care about it. The capital falling, or like Onigashima falling on the capital, the flower capital, makes sense, and that I do have some like sirens and bells going off for that, but this one just doesn't feel like it would happen. So Jinbei came back and reminded us that he was a Straw Hat and he's still in the story, because sometimes I feel like he's just in the background and never really takes his shine as an actual Straw Hat. So it was nice to see him come and talk about like the honor that comes with like being a samurai and being a warrior, and that it's a shame that they would have died from just the fire and like the smoke inhalation rather than like die with their swords in their hands fighting an opponent. It's kind of like the Vikings in Valhalla and wanting to die with a sword in your hand. But yeah, that was kind of just a minor thing. We get to see Yamato go and fight the little blob thing. Well, not little, big blob thing, but it is what it is. Honestly, the fire isn't really much of a threat in my head, but depends on what you think. Let me know. So Oda really was like big brain here, because he was like, you know what, Chopper needs a power up, but there needs to be a consequence for it. And you know what, I'm gonna realize that consequence can make me a lot of money, because we have Chibi Chopper, like the chibi character, gets a chibi form, which is like just a merchandising campaign to try and get more Chopper sales. And there will be more Chopper sales because look at this. Look at this. But yeah. Then we get to see Zoro literally face to face with death. Like a Shinigami is like right over him, ready to reap his soul away. And I really don't know. I really don't know. It could be like hallucination. It could be Enma in a certain way. It could be Zoro's dying. Not happening. Frankie is there though, so maybe we can have a scene of Zoro like saying like no to death, like on some freaking Clint Eastwood. No, not Clint Eastwood. Who was he? Chuck Norris. Not Clint Eastwood. Chuck Norris. And you'll be surprised. Not maybe surprised. I have no idea. But in order to figure that out, I really just had to go up on like epic rap battles of history and try to remember, because my brain went Clint Eastwood simply because of them. My brain is a weird thing. Don't ask questions. But yeah, so Zoro might be doing some like Chuck Norris shit where like he's defeated and he's dying, but like death comes and death is too afraid to take his soul, like Chuck Norris. But I don't know. We'll see. Next we get Izo, and Izo encounters CP0, and looks like there's gonna be a confrontation. I have no idea how it's gonna end up, because like I have no level or powers level of either of them. I have no idea. Oda can take it either way, and that is what I like about One Piece, is that we don't get bogged down too much about power levels. It's like whatever Oda wants to like progress the plot happens, and I'm cool with that, honestly. I don't really care about who wins and who dies, but it is what it is. I already mentioned the Yamato stuff, so there's not really much to delve into there, but I want to jump over to the Law and Kid versus Big Mom, because that was like obviously the chapter title name, but also my favorite part, because it was it was what the chapter was meant for. But like I feel like I'm kind of disappointed in just overall, like this is my feeling towards Kid and Law throughout the series. While I do think that they definitely will defeat Big Mom together, it just keeps them like a notch below Luffy, because Luffy's gonna defeat Kaido by himself, most likely, unless you're like in the Morge camp where you think the raid is gonna fail no matter what happens. But most likely Kid and Law will defeat Big Mom, Luffy will defeat Kaido, and that's how it's gonna end. And Luffy will probably cement himself as the far stronger one between all three of them. And that just disappoints me, because I really like Kid and Law, and I think they're both really fascinating characters. And it isn't that they're weaker than Luffy that is an issue for me. Like I don't mind that. It's just that they, I feel, have come to accept it, because they're like, we're not gonna let you go to the rooftop, because they think Luffy's defeating Kaido. Like it has that feeling of like, you know, when the Straw Hats are like, oh yeah, Luffy's gonna defeat Crocodile, so I'm gonna defeat you, Mr. One, or Luffy's gonna defeat Lucci, so I'm gonna defeat you, Jabra, or whatever it is. So they kind of have that feeling where it's like they trust Luffy, and it's cool for Luffy as a protagonist, and I'm happy for him, but I'm not happy. I'm not happy, because I want them to do their own shit. I want them to do their own shit. I want them to be their own people, you know? I want them to go and try and defeat them by themselves, and be like, Kid be stubborn headed and like going like, I will defeat Kaido myself, or I will defeat Big Mom myself, because yeah, like one-on-one, just honestly on some dumb shit, but it is what it is. Like that's what the stories come to. Law gets to show off a really cool move like K-Room, and then he uses a move called Shock Wiley or Willy. I googled, translated it, and like a lot of his techniques, it was German for Shock Will. I don't know, I thought it would have been Shockwave, but I have no idea. I just went by Google Translate. My favorite move in this entire fight by far has to be Kid's final attack, which was translated as Punk Horned Dio. You should know how I feel about Dio. Like, if you have followed this channel at all. I don't even know if I mentioned it on this channel, but on the podcast that I have with friends, like a couple of friends called the Moontails Anime Podcast, I mention it quite a lot. I fucking love Dio. So, again, I'm kind of underwhelmed by Law and Kid, because, like, in the end, they're like, we won't let you reach the rooftop. And if that was Zoro or Sanji, this would be such a hype moment, because they're putting themselves on the line for their captain, but Luffy's not their captain. And it just kind of feels like Luffy's kind of cemented himself as above them. And obviously in our minds, Luffy is way above them. He's the main character. But the Supernovas were supposed to be these characters, like the way they were introduced as Sabaody was like, they were all their own protagonists in their own story, and it was just like, everything up until that point was interesting and fascinating because we got to only see one protagonist, and all these other characters are their own protagonists, and they're all going through their own story, and it was so cool. But now all of them are like, you know what? We accept that we are not the main character. And I don't want that. Like, I would like it when characters are like, no, bro, I'm gonna steal the show when I can. And obviously the main character has to main character, but I don't know how to say it any differently besides they have essentially accepted their roles as side characters. And it's kind of funny because Kid was making fun of Law in the beginning of the arc, like, oh yeah, you're like Luffy's subordinate, and now Kid is acting like a subordinate too. So it is what it is. Let me know if I missed anything. Tell me your opinions in the comments below. What is the question today? Okay, I'll let you guys decide. Do you feel like Kid and Law are being diminished in this portrayal of them? Let me know. Take care, everyone.
この世には2種類の魂魄がある。一つはプラスと呼ばれる通常の霊。貴様が普段目にしている幽霊だ。そして今一つがフォローと呼ばれ、聖者、死者の別なくを襲って魂を食らう。いわゆる悪霊だ。ここまでで何か質問はあるか？
とりあえずお前の絵が異常に下手な理由から聞こうが。ああ！何しやがる！説明を続けるぞ、バロン閣下。